Hello and welcome to Tête à Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest today is Yair Lapid. He is the head of Israel's main opposition party, Yesh Atid. He's also a former prime minister, and he joins us from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much, Mr. Lapid.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Mr. Lapid, the October 7 assault by Hamas on Israeli soil, which has claimed hundreds of lives, has been called Israel's 9/11 or a new October surprise like the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago. Were you surprised when you heard the news that day, and how would you describe that day?
Well, I don't know if surprised is the right word. Shocked, devastated, painful. I mean, it's in terms of in proportion to the population, it's way bigger than 9/11. Actually, if you want to look at sad statistics, apparently this is the worst day for the Jewish people since the Holocaust. I mean, since the Holocaust, there was not a single day in which so many Israelis were killed or Jews were killed. It is right now, the statistics is more than 900 people who were killed in these vicious terror attacks by Hamas. And so, you know, when a country that small is being attacked in a way that is so terrible, so you know somebody, you meet with somebody, this is somebody you've been to the wedding of or the bar mitzvah of the child. I was yesterday in a hospital. I went to donate blood and visit the injured, and I met with one of the doctors. And he looked exhausted, of course, like everybody else. So I asked him, I said, how are you? And he said, well, I'm exhausted. And I said, yes, sure, there's so many casualties. He said, no, it's not only that. My son is also one of the wounded. So I went to see his child, you know, a beautiful kid, 2 bullets, one in the head, one in the chest. So everything is personal and touching. It is way beyond surprised.
Israel has called up a record 300,000 reservists. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel's response will change the Middle East forever. Does this mean that Israel is preparing not only for a war in Gaza, but maybe in the West Bank, maybe in Lebanon, maybe against Iran? What's your take on this?
Well, we are prepared for everything or anything that might happen because they caught us by surprise once. It's not going to happen again. But this doesn't mean we'll initiate anything or we want anything. On the contrary, we have warned Hezbollah in Lebanon from interfering in this. And we have warned the Palestinians in the West Bank and in Eastern Jerusalem from interfering with this, because this is not a good idea. We're not surprised anymore. We are angry. What we're dealing now and what we want to deal with is Hamas in Gaza. There will be, when this ends, there will be no Hamas in Gaza. And let me remind you what you already know. This has nothing to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Hamas doesn't want a Palestinian state. For them, it's not a national conflict. For Hamas, Hamas is a pan-Arabic, Islamic fundamentalist terrorist group who wants to kill Jews because they're Jews, and to kill Christians because they're Christians, and to kill moderate Muslims because they are moderate Muslims. This is what they do. They kill the innocent. They killed an 85-year-old granny and the grandchildren because what they want is an Islamic territory going all around the world. So this has nothing to do with other conflicts and other parts of the Middle East and other countries in our neighborhood. It will be in their best interest not to get involved in this, and we urge them not to get involved with this. Actually, President Macron, who showed an unbelievable support to us these days, was one of the world leaders or important world leaders who has transferred this message to the Iranians, who are standing behind so many of the threats we are facing now.
Right. Let's go back to Gaza. If you're saying this is the sole Israeli focus, we're seeing Israeli strikes since Saturday on Gaza. The next obvious step is a ground offensive. But then what? Do you want Israel to take back Gaza like before 2005? Or, as has been the case before, strike Hamas? There will be probably many casualties, negotiate a ceasefire through Egypt and Qatar. What's the end game?
Well, the end game is there will be no Hamas in Gaza. I cannot tell. I mean, the exit strategy, this is all very, I mean, it just happened. It's been 3 days. Right now, what we're doing is we're eliminating, and we will eliminate even furthermore, all terror capabilities that Hamas have. By the end of it, probably I mean, my view would be that the Palestinian Authority should take over Gaza as it did before, but we don't know yet. There are still many unknowns. Right now, what we are determined to do is just making sure there will be no Hamas and no Hamas capabilities in Gaza, because they will not make us future victims. What happened is enough is enough. What happened, it will not happen again.
Right. The Defense Minister Yoav Gallant ordered a complete siege of Gaza, meaning cutting off all supplies, including food and electricity. This is collective punishment for over 2 million people and a violation of international humanitarian law, according to the UN. What is your response to this decision and the criticism it is seeing?
Well, you don't have to respond to this. You should direct the question to Hamas. They are the sole cause of this. They are in charge. They are to be blamed. What they initiated it. So, the people we should talk to, you should ask to direct the question to, are Hamas. It's their fault. Ask them why is this happening.
But you support that decision?
I support everything necessary to make sure Hamas doesn't have the capabilities to butcher Israelis just because they're Jews. Yes.
What they have is hostages, dozens of them, including foreign ones. That changes the equation. That makes entering the Gaza Strip with tanks and so on much more complicated. How do you deal with this very sensitive issue?
Well, I agree. I mean, anyway, incursion of Gaza is a complicated issue and has to be dealt tactically more than anything else. And of course, the fact that they took into captivity civilians. Let me remind you, it's not. I mean, the minority of the people they took into captivity are soldiers. The majority are just civilians. So many of them has just been, it was just youngsters going to a music festival, for crying out loud, and were captured there. So it complicates things. We have to figure out ways to deal with it, but this will not interfere to our main goal, which is making sure Gaza is not a threat to the Israeli people anymore.
Right. What happened is probably one of the biggest intelligence failure, and also a failure to protect citizens in southern Israel. According to reports, Egypt's intelligence minister called Israel's prime minister 10 days ago, warning him that Hamas was about to do something big, something unusual, and that Prime Minister Netanyahu waved him off. This has been denied by the prime minister. Clearly, Israel didn't see what other people were seeing or didn't want to see this.
I agree. It's unfortunate. It is horrible. We have to go back and look at this when this is over, but not right now. Right now, we are fighting for our lives. Right now, we're trying to make sure that the Israelis are safe. 15 minutes before this interview took place, there were sirens in our southern cities and rockets and missiles hit them again. So yes, we will have to go back and do our homework, and we have to make sure this doesn't happen again. Also, in the terms of the intelligence failure that was part of this, but I'm not going to name names or blame anyone right now. We have an objective, and the objective is to make sure it doesn't happen again. Then we will figure out ways to deal with the past.
Do you think that the divisions within Israeli society related to Benjamin Netanyahu's judicial overhaul plan also made the military weaker? This is what some commentators are saying, that Israel spent a lot of time fighting each other instead of worrying about Gaza.
I think that the fact that Israel is a democracy is not the weakness, it's the source of our strength. We used to tell everybody that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, which we are, and also the strongest power in the Middle East. It doesn't feel like it right now, but we are. And these two are linked. We are powerful because we are a democracy. We are we have this might because the principles and the values that stands behind it are true and always were there. So no, I don't think it weakens us, the fact that we are discussing these days about the fundamentals of our democracy. I think it strengthened us. There was a terrible failure of intelligence, and it took us too long to regain the territories that were not taken, but they were invaded by Hamas. But we did, and we will.
You went to the UN, you were prime minister last year, and you said, yes, I believe in the two-state solution. Today, Yair Lapid, do you still believe in it? Because many people think it just died and was buried by what happened.
No, I don't think it died and was buried. As I said, it has nothing to do with it. And the discussion we had especially with the PA in the West Bank, not with Hamas in Gaza, because we do not negotiate with terrorists. I think, again, part of the reason we need a two-state solution is in order to join forces with moderate Muslims against the fundamentalists, against the terror organization who are twisting Islam and hurting the moderate Muslims more than Israel ever did or ever will. So, no, I don't think it's dead. I think there's a lot of people, a lot of extremists from both sides who wants it to die, but I still believe it is possible, and this is also in the best interest of the state of Israel.
Very quickly, because we're running out of time, there are discussions about forming a unity government. Are you ready to accept entering such a government, even if far-right Minister Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir are included in a war cabinet?
Well, it is. I was the first one to initiate and propose a unity government, and I said then that in order for this to become an efficient one and for us to have a war cabinet that is functional, we cannot have the most extreme parties and parts of the Israeli society as part of this. I hope the Prime Minister understands this and sees the damage that it will cause what we all share as a goal, to keep those extremists within the government. So we'll see about this. It doesn't matter. You know, I know I'm supposed to be able to talk about politics. I don't feel like talking about politics. It's my people are being killed. I'll do whatever is necessary to help my country in these terrible times, whether it's from the coalition or the opposition.
Yair Lapid, I want to thank you very much for appearing here on France 24, and I want to thank you all for watching this show. Stay tuned for more news.